Hey guys, welcome to Through the Looking Glass. On today's episode, I actually sent in one of my old notes into NotebookLM, and let's see what deep dive they come up with.
Welcome back to the Deep Dive. Today, I want to start by asking you a question.
Okay.
It's a personal one, and honestly, if we're dropping the pretenses, it might make you squirm just a little bit.
I love a question that makes us squirm. Let's hear it.
Okay, here it is. How often do you walk into a room, maybe it's a high-stakes Monday morning meeting, maybe it's a family reunion, or maybe just grabbing drinks with your oldest friends, and you turn it on. You put on that smile that lights up the room, you're engaging, you're asking everyone how they are. You are effectively the life of the party. But inside your chest, it feels like there's a Category 5 hurricane tearing the roof off.
That is the universal human experience, isn't it?
I think so.
It's the discrepancy, the massive gap between the billboard we put up for the public and the messy, chaotic inventory we are actually managing in the warehouse.
That is exactly the image. The inventory is disaster, boxes falling over, alarms ringing, but the storefront window looks pristine.
Right.
We are diving into that specific tension today. We're exploring a concept called the duality of strength. And we are doing this by walking through a really powerful, incredibly raw personal essay by Lindsay-Michele titled The Duality of Strength, Living in Sunshine and Shadows.
This piece was published just recently, May 6, 2025, and it carries a subtitle that I think really frames our entire conversation today.
Which is?
Yin and Yang, where my authenticity finds balance.
It is such a good subtitle because balance is a tricky word. Usually when we hear balance, we think of stillness.
Right, like a scale.
Like a scale sitting perfectly even, not moving. But what we're going to see here is that balance, true emotional balance, is actually a dynamic, sometimes exhausting act of holding two very heavy opposing things at the exact same time.
Precisely. It's active, not passive. And what stands out about the source material is that it isn't a clinical study from a university. It isn't a psychologist lecturing us on how we should feel. It is a personal essay. It is a primary source document on the labor of emotional regulation. It's a report from the trenches.
Labor is the right word. We are going to unpack the author's definition of authenticity. And I'll tell you right now, it is not what you might expect.
Right.
We aren't just looking at happiness, and we aren't just looking at depression or struggle. We are looking at how one person holds both of those realities simultaneously without snapping in half.
And that is the key. Often in these deep dives, we try to solve a problem. Today, the mission is to witness a state of being.
I like that.
We want to explore the cost of being the strong one, that friend everyone relies on, and redefine what strength actually looks like behind closed doors.
I am actually really excited about this one because it feels like the conversation we all want to have but rarely do.
Yeah.
We all post the highlight reels, but we rarely post the breakdown that happened 20 minutes before the photo was taken.
Right. And from a psychological perspective, this is a fascinating study in resilience, but not the glossy poster slogan version of resilience.
Yeah.
We are looking at the gritty, day-to-day maintenance of the self. So let's get into it.
Okay, let's unpack this. The author structures this piece around two main metaphors, the sunshine and the shadows.
Yeah.
And she starts with the sunshine.
She does. And it is crucial to note the sequencing here. She doesn't start with the struggle. She starts with her public self, which she also explicitly identifies as her authentic self.
That's a distinction we need to make right away. Often when we talk about masking or public personas, we assume the happy version is the fake version.
Right, that it's a performance.
But she isn't saying that. She writes, I am someone who shows up fully in every moment.
That phrase, shows up fully, is heavy. It implies a high level of engagement. In psychology, we talk about presence versus dissociation.
Okay.
She describes herself as someone who tries to be present, to engage with what is right in front of her. This isn't someone who is checked out or numb.
No, not at all. She says she has an innate ability to see the good in people, even when the world has shown me its worst. Now, I have to be honest, when I first read that, I played the skeptic.
I get that.
I thought, okay, is this toxic positivity? Is this someone just ignoring reality to feel better?
That is the most common critique of optimism in the modern era. We often confuse optimism with delusion.
Yeah.
But if you look closer at the text, that is not what is happening here. She writes, I've spent so much time training my mind to focus on what's right.
Yes. That line jumped out at me too. Training my mind.
It completely reframes the concept of optimism. She isn't presenting it as a naive trait, like she was just born with rose-colored glasses glued to her face, and she can't help it.
Right.
She is describing it as an athletic discipline. It is a cognitive choice.
It's like going to the gym. You don't just wake up with muscles, you have to lift the weights. She is lifting the weights of positivity every single day.
Every single day.
She says she pushes forward no matter what life throws my way.
Yeah.
It sounds exhausting, actually, even though it's positive.
It is exhausting. Think about the cognitive load involved in that. Our brains, evolutionarily speaking, are wired for what we call the negativity bias.
Right, the survival instinct.
We are designed to scan for threats. Tigers in the bushes, social rejection, scarcity. To actively look for the good is a counter-evolutionary act. It requires overriding your default mode network.
So when she says she is training her mind, she's essentially doing cognitive behavioral therapy, or CBT, on herself, moment by moment.
Exactly. She is rewriting her neural pathways in real time. She says this optimism is a core part of who she is, but it clearly requires maintenance. It's a high-energy state. It's not a passive state of being happy. It's an active state of making happy.
And this discipline is rooted in a very specific philosophy. She writes, I truly believe that love is all that matters.
Love always wins in the end. That is her core belief.
And she explicitly states that she chooses to lead with kindness, even toward those who hurt her. This is the part that really struck me.
Yeah.
She isn't doing it because she expects an apology. She writes, it's not about perfection or expecting anything in return.
Right.
She believes love has the power to change everything.
If we connect this to the bigger picture of human behavior, that is a radical stance.
It really is.
Most of us operate on a transactional basis. Game theory, essentially. You hurt me, I withdraw. You are nice to me, I'm nice to you. It's a ledger system.
Yeah, tit for tat.
She is breaking that transaction. She is saying, I will output love regardless of the input.
That is a superpower. It really is. To have that kind of emotional feeling where you can say, your bad behavior isn't going to corrupt my good behavior.
It is an assertion of agency. She is refusing to let the darkness of others dictate her internal weather. But, and this is a massive but, that level of output, that constant generation of love and light in the face of darkness creates a deficit somewhere else if you aren't careful. It creates the perfect setup for the shadows she describes next.
Right, because you can't pour from an empty cup, as the saying goes, but she seems to be pouring even when the cup is cracking.
That's a great way to put it.
It reminds me of people who are professional caregivers or first responders. They have to be the calmest person in the room, but the cost of that calm is enormous.
Exactly. The calm is a manufactured product. It costs resources to produce, and if you are producing it all day, you are depleting your reserves.
So let's pivot. She has established that she is this beacon of light, this person who trains her mind to see the good, and then she drops the curtain.
The transition in the text is palpable. She uses the metaphor of sunshine and shadows. She says, while this is the side of me that most people see, there's another side that is often hidden.
And here is the quote that I think everyone needs to hear. On the outside, everything might seem fine, but inside, there's a storm.
A storm. It is a violent, chaotic image. It suggests unpredictability and danger. It's not just rain, it's wind, it's thunder, it's potential destruction.
She gets really specific about what this storm feels like. It's not just, I'm sad. She lists the types of exhaustion.
She lists 4 distinct types: physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual.
Let's break those down a bit. Physical and mental, we get. We're tired, our brains are fried from work.
Sure.
Emotional, we understand. Sadness, anxiety. But spiritual exhaustion, that feels deeper. That feels like a bedrock issue.
Spiritual exhaustion usually refers to a loss of meaning or a disconnection from one's purpose or simply the fatigue of hope.
The fatigue of hope. Wow.
When you have been hoping for things to get better for so long and they haven't, your spirit, your drive to continue gets tired. It's what happens when your why starts to get blurry because the how is so difficult.
I see.
She describes it as the constant feeling of being pulled in 100 different directions, trying to keep everything together while falling apart inside.
It's interesting you mentioned the fatigue of hope because in the sunshine section, she was so hopeful. So spiritual exhaustion here sounds like the price of that hope.
Precisely. Hope is expensive. Cynicism is cheap.
Yeah.
It's easy to give up. It takes no energy to say everything is terrible, but to say everything is terrible, but I still believe in love, that costs spirit.
And she uses this phrase that gave me chills.
Yeah.
She feels like she is existing, not living.
That is a classic marker of what psychologists call survival mode.
Okay.
When you are in survival mode, your brain doesn't have the bandwidth for joy, for creativity, for living in the rich sense of the word. It is purely focused on threat detection and endurance.
So you're just getting through.
You're just getting through. Existing means you are just managing the biological and logistical functions of the day. You are keeping the organism alive, but the person inside is dormant.
It's the difference between driving the car and just being a passenger in a car that's speeding down a hill.
Yes. You are watching the scenery fly by, maybe gripping the handle, but you aren't choosing the destination.
She writes about the frustration of fighting a battle where the situation remains out of her control. She says, most days I feel like I'm failing, not because I'm not trying, but because no matter how much I fight, I'm still stuck.
That lack of control is one of the most stressful psychological states a human can be in. Absolutely. If you work hard and see results, that's satisfying. It's a dopamine loop. Effort equals reward.
Right.
But if you work hard specifically, if you do all this mental training she talked about, and the external situation doesn't change, that leads to what we call learned helplessness, or in her case, just profound burnout. The feedback loop is broken.
It's like pushing against a brick wall. You can push with perfect form with all your strength for 10 hours. You will be exhausted, but the wall won't have moved an inch.
Right.
And your brain goes, well, I failed.
Even though the failure wasn't in the effort, the failure was the immovability of the wall.
And she paints this picture of the nighttime struggle.
People don't see the hours I spend lying awake at night trying to quiet my mind from all the worries and anxieties.
The insomnia of the high-functioning person.
Exactly. Because during the day, she is the sunshine. She is showing up fully.
She's busy.
She is distracting herself with work, with being there for others. So the only time the shadows can really take over is when the lights go out. There is a profound isolation in this description. The night is when the audience leaves the theater. During the day, she is performing strength. At night, the performance drops, and the reality of the exhaustion hits her all at once.
And she connects it to how people see her.
She notes that because she is so good at hiding the pain, because her sunshine training is so effective, the world assumes she is fine.
This is the double-edged sword of being strong. She writes, I wonder if anyone would even notice if I broke down.
That is a terrifying thought. It's a fear of invisibility. I am so good at holding this up that you don't even see the weight of it anymore.
And it brings us to the concept of the silent scream.
Yeah.
She describes wanting to scream for help but swallowing the words.
Right.
Why do you think she swallows them? If she is in this much pain, why not let it out? Why not tell someone?
Well, she gives us a few reasons. One is the fear that no one would understand, that the cognitive dissonance between her sunshine self and her shadow self is too confusing for people. Another is the fear of being turned away, rejection sensitivity. But there is also this simple, heartbreaking admission. She doesn't have a safe space to rest.
That line broke me. A safe space to rest. We aren't talking about a literal bed.
No, not at all.
We're talking about a relational container, a person or a place where she doesn't have to be the sunshine.
Exactly. If your entire identity and perhaps your value to the people around you is built on being the strong one, the optimistic one, the one who leads with love,
Right.
then dropping that mask feels dangerous. The subconscious question is, if I stop being strong, will I still be loved? Or will I just be a burden?
If my utility is my strength, do I have value when I am weak?
That is such a heavy question. And for many strong friends, the answer they fear is no.
Yeah.
So they keep the mask on.
So you have this functioning struggle, as we might call it. She is going through the motions, smiling when she needs to, taking care of business.
Right.
But she says, the truth is, I'm not okay. And that's okay to admit.
It is a crucial admission, but notice the tension. She admits it in the essay, but she struggles to admit it in her daily life because of that lack of a safe container.
It's a paradox.
It is. She knows it's okay to not be okay, but she doesn't feel safe showing that she's not okay.
And this brings us to the cost. You can't live in this duality forever without paying a tax. In the next section of our deep dive, we are going to look at what she calls the cost of the mask.
She describes an erosion. She says that the pain lingers and it wears me down piece by piece.
Piece by piece. It's not a sudden explosion. It's a slow crumbling, like water on a rock.
Yeah.
She makes this profound statement.
Yeah.
She sometimes doesn't even recognize myself anymore.
That is an identity crisis triggered by chronic resilience.
Wow.
When you spend so much time managing the public face and suppressing the private storm, you start to lose track of who you actually are. The performance consumes the person. You start asking, am I the happy person or am I the sad person? The integration is lost.
It's dissociation, right?
Yeah.
You separate from yourself to survive the day.
Yes. You become an observer of your own life rather than a participant.
She seems to be wrestling with that exact question. And here is where it gets really interesting for anyone listening who is into self-improvement or therapy.
Yeah, this part is key.
She mentions that she is doing everything right.
Yes. This is what I call the inner work paradox.
Explain that.
Well, she says she sets boundaries, she does the inner work, she tries to heal. She is checking all the boxes that the wellness influencers tell us to check. But the outside world doesn't always allow that piece to stay.
This validates so many people. We are often sold this idea, this neoliberal idea, really, that if you just meditate enough or journal enough or go to enough therapy, you will be zen, you will be bulletproof. But she is pointing out the external reality. You can be spiritually fit, but if your environment is toxic, or if the people around you keep pulling you back into survival mode, you are going to be exhausted.
It's like trying to dry off while standing in the rain.
Perfect analogy.
You can use the fluffiest towel in the world, you can have the best drying technique, but if the storm is still raging, you're going to get wet.
Precisely. She talks about the weight of others' actions, pulling her back. This suggests that her struggle isn't just internal neurochemistry, it is situational, it is relational.
She is an ecosystem, and the ecosystem is polluted.
And we often blame ourselves when self-care doesn't work. We think, maybe I'm meditating wrong.
Yeah.
But Lindsay-Michele is saying, no, the water's just rising too fast.
Exactly. It removes the blame from the individual.
And she talks about the unseen load, the mental and emotional load she carries alone, the continuous fight to protect my peace.
That phrase, protect my peace, implies that her peace is under constant attack. It's not passive, it's an active defense strategy.
Yeah.
And maintaining a defense strategy 24/7 is incredibly draining. It creates a state of hypervigilance. You are always waiting for the next shoe to drop.
So we have the sunshine, the rigorous discipline of optimism. We have the shadows, the private silent storm and the isolation. And we have the cost, the erosion of self, and the identity crisis.
Right.
So what does this all mean? Where does she go from here? Does she just give up?
No. And this is the pivot point of the entire deep dive. This is where she synthesizes the two. This is where duality becomes a solution, not just a problem.
Okay.
She connects the yin and the yang. She writes, even when nobody sees the pain, I'm still here.
I'm still here.
Yeah.
It's a defiant statement of existence. It's minimalist. She isn't saying I'm winning.
Oh.
She's saying I remain.
And she starts to redefine what strength actually looks like, because up until now, the world thinks her strength is her smile. Her strength is her ability to handle everything. But she flips it.
How so?
She does. She moves away from the loud version of strength, the victories, the achievements, the girl boss energy.
Right.
She identifies strength in quiet moments, in quiet persistence.
She talks about taking incredibly small steps.
That is vital. When you are in the shadows, you cannot take leaps. You cannot sprint. Strength is waking up. Strength is making the coffee. Strength is not snapping at someone when you feel like screaming. It is the micro movements of survival.
It reminds me of people recovering from physical injury. You don't run a marathon on day one. You wiggle your toe. And that toe wiggle is a victory.
Exactly. And she is celebrating the toe wiggle.
She mentions showing up for myself and for my kids, even when exhausted.
Yeah.
I want to pause on that because it's the only time she explicitly mentions family structure in this text.
It is a significant detail for my kids. That external motivator is often the tether that keeps people on the sunshine side of the ledger. It provides a why when the how feels impossible. It forces a certain level of functionality. You can't stay in bed if the kids need breakfast.
It's the anchor. Even if the boat is rocking, the anchor holds it in place.
But it adds to the pressure, too, because now you aren't just surviving for you, you are surviving for them.
But she also has a spiritual anchor. Even though she feels isolated from people, she doesn't seem to feel totally isolated from the universe.
This is a fascinating layer of her cognitive architecture. She writes, I still trust that there's a bigger picture I can't always see, and the universe is working with me.
That is a huge leap of faith to make when you are lying awake at night feeling like you are failing.
It is.
To believe the universe is on your team when the scoreboard says otherwise.
It creates a bridge over the abyss. This is the duality in action. She isn't denying the pain. She has just spent paragraphs describing the storm.
Right.
But she is choosing to trust the future. She is holding the shadow in one hand and the sunshine in the other.
So she's engaging in dialectical thinking.
Exactly. Two opposing truths existing at once. I am suffering right now, and this is leading somewhere good.
So the sunshine isn't fake. It's a lifeline.
It's a strategy. It's a survival mechanism. She says she chooses to stay optimistic because she knows this battle isn't the end of my story.
That's the living in sunshine and shadows part. It's not about eliminating the shadows. It's not about waiting until the storm passes to be happy.
No.
It's about navigating them without letting them swallow you whole.
And that brings us to the final segment of her piece, which is a direct message to the listener, or the reader in her case.
She shifts from I to you. She stops talking about her pain and starts talking to yours.
She writes, if you're reading this, know that you're not alone.
It's the validation she craves for herself. She is now offering to others.
Which is often how the strong friend heals. They heal by healing others.
How does that work?
It's a projection of empathy. I cannot fix my own isolation, so I will fix yours.
She says, your fight matters. Your strength matters. And she adds that even if no one sees it, the act of fighting is worth honoring.
That is the takeaway. We often only honor the victory. We honor the person who crossed the finish line holding the trophy.
Yeah.
She is honoring the person who is vomiting at mile 12 but keeps walking. She is dignifying the struggle itself, independent of the outcome.
With heart, truth, and the power of duality. That is how she signs off.
The power of duality. It suggests that being able to hold both the incredible pain and the incredible hope is not a weakness. It is the source of the power.
Complexity is strength.
Yes.
It's profound. It really makes you rethink how we judge people we see every day. You see the smiling coworker, the mom at school drop-off who looks put together, the friend who always texts back, and you have no idea about the storm.
No, we are seeing the billboard. We aren't seeing the inventory.
You know, before we truly wrap up, I want to circle back to something we touched on earlier, but I think deserves a much deeper look. We talked about the training of the mind that Lindsay-Michele mentions, the sunshine part.
Yeah, let's go back there. Because I think it's easy to gloss over that as just positive thinking, like those cat posters that say, hang in there.
Right.
But she describes it as something much more rigorous.
Exactly. When she says, I've spent so much time training my mind, she is describing a cognitive behavioral process. In psychology, we talk about neuroplasticity, the ability of the brain to form new connections.
Okay.
If you naturally veer toward anxiety or negativity, which is an evolutionary survival trait, by the way.
Right, our brains are wired to look for tigers in the bushes, not rainbows. We are descendants of the paranoid. The happy, relaxed ancestors got eaten.
Correct. So to see the good, as she puts it, is actually a counter-evolutionary act. It requires energy.
A lot of energy.
It requires overriding the brain's default mode network. When she says she finds the silver lining no matter how dark, she isn't just being cheerful. She is performing a high-rep mental workout. She is forcing the brain to scan for safety cues in a dangerous environment.
That puts the exhaustion she talks about later in a whole new context. If she is spending all day bench pressing her own brain chemistry to stay positive, of course she is physically tired by 8 p.m.
Precisely. We often separate mental work from physical fatigue. But the brain consumes about 20% of the body's metabolic energy.
Wow.
Heavy emotional regulation, forcing yourself to be kind when you want to scream, forcing yourself to hope when you feel despair, burns actual glucose. It is physically draining.
So when she lists physical, mental, emotional, spiritual exhaustion, they are all cascading into each other. You can't separate the body from the mind.
They are inextricably linked. And I want to dwell on that spiritual aspect again. In the source text, she connects her optimism to a belief that love is all that matters.
Which, again, sounds lovely on a greeting card, but she is applying it in the trenches. She says she leads with kindness even toward those who hurt me.
Let's play devil's advocate for a second. Is that healthy?
I was wondering that. Is that a lack of boundaries? If someone punches you and you offer them love, are you just a doormat?
That is the risk. That is the fawn response in trauma theory, appeasing the aggressor to stay safe. However, she clarifies, it's not about expecting anything in return. If she were doing it to manipulate them into changing, that would be codependency. But she says she does it because love has the power to change everything. She views it as an autonomous choice. She is retaining her agency. She is saying, you cannot force me to become hateful.
Oh, I see. So it's an act of rebellion. I refuse to let your darkness dim my light.
Exactly. It is an assertion of identity. This is who I am, she writes. But, and here's the rub, maintaining that high moral ground is lonely. It is very lonely on the high road.
Which leads us right back into the shadows. She talks about the isolation, the one no one sees.
Yeah.
I want to talk about the specific imagery she uses of the nighttime struggle.
Lying awake at night, trying to quiet my mind.
Why is night so hard? We hear this from so many people. The day is fine. The night is a disaster.
Distraction. During the day, the public face has a job to do. There are tasks, kids, emails, social interactions.
Yeah.
The brain is occupied with the sunshine performance. At night, the sensory input drops. The audience leaves the theater. And suddenly, you're alone with the storm.
There is no noise to drown out the internal monologue.
Right. And that monologue is playing all her fears on a loop.
The storm she mentions, she says she feels like she is failing. Not because I'm not trying, but because no matter how much I fight, I'm still stuck in a situation I have no control over.
This creates a state of cognitive dissonance. She believes love always wins. That is her core belief.
Right.
But her reality is, I am stuck and I have no control. Those two things are fighting in her head. If love wins, why am I losing right now?
That is the silent scream, the gap between her theology, her belief system, and her lived experience.
And that gap is where the shadows live. It is the space of doubt. And notice, she doesn't say she loses her faith. She says she is exhausted by it.
Right.
It takes effort to believe things will get better when the evidence says they aren't.
It reminds me of that line, it's the constant feeling of being pulled in 100 different directions.
Let's look at the 100 directions. She mentions the weight of responsibilities. She mentions the pressures that never seem to end. This sounds like the modern condition, doesn't it?
It really does. It's the sandwich generation stress. Or just the modern connectivity stress. You have to be a good worker, a good parent, a good friend, physically fit, politically aware.
And you have to do it all while looking like you're having a great time on Instagram.
Right. And Lindsay-Michele points out a crucial nuance. The world might think I'm handling it all.
Perception versus reality.
Because she is competent. That is the trap of competence. If you are good at handling things, people give you more things to handle.
Competence is punished with responsibility.
Yes. Oh, give it to Lindsay. She'll get it done. She's always so positive.
And she does get it done. She says, I take care of what needs to be done. She doesn't drop the ball.
No.
She just internalizes the impact of catching it. She absorbs the shock.
Which leads to that feeling of existing, not living. I want to dig into that more. What does it mean to live versus exist?
Living, in a psychological sense, involves engagement, flow, pleasure, and a sense of agency. You are driving the car. Existing is being a passenger in a car that is careening down a hill. You're just watching the scenery fly by, hoping you don't crash. You are reacting, not acting.
And she mentions she feels like she is failing, even though she is trying hard.
That is the sunk cost of effort. If I try hard, I should get a reward. When the reward doesn't come, when the situation remains out of her control, the brain interprets that as failure.
Right.
But in reality, it's not failure. It's just circumstance.
Yeah.
It is the unfairness of the universe.
But try telling your 3 a.m. brain that.
Impossible. The 3 a.m. brain is not rational. The 3 a.m. brain is a drama queen. It catastrophizes.
So she is in this cycle. She trains her mind to be sunny. She encounters a world that is harsh. She absorbs the impact. She hides the pain so she doesn't burden others. She lies awake at night. She wakes up and does it again.
And she says, this wears me down piece by piece.
That erosion imagery is scary because eventually there's nothing left. Right.
That is the fear. The identity crisis, she mentions, I don't even recognize myself anymore, is the warning light on the dashboard. It means the mask has become fused to the face. She doesn't know where the performance ends and the person begins.
And yet, she keeps going. This is the synthesis part of our discussion. She doesn't quit.
She doesn't. And this is where we have to look at her definition of strength. She reclaims the word.
She takes it away from the action hero definition and moves it to the, what would you call it?
The endurance athlete definition.
Yeah.
Or perhaps the gardener definition. It's quiet. It's about growth in the dark. She says strength is found in quiet moments of persistence.
Persistence. Just staying in the game.
There is a Japanese proverb, fall down 7 times, stand up 8. She's describing the standing up 8. It's not a jump. It's a slow, painful stand.
She mentions finding ways to move forward even if those steps feel incredibly small.
This is clinically sound advice, by the way. When you are overwhelmed, you cannot look at the mountain. You have to look at your feet. You take one step, then another. Action creates momentum.
And she does have that universe connection we talked about. The universe is working with me.
I want to connect that back to her love philosophy. It seems her spiritual framework is her safety net. Even when the people around her fail to provide a safe space, she constructs a metaphysical safe space.
That's a great point.
She believes the narrative of her life has a happy ending.
Better days are ahead.
That belief is functional. Whether it is objectively true or not, believing it is true is what allows her to get out of bed. It is the fuel for the sunshine.
So the sunshine feeds the shadows by hiding them, but the sunshine also saves her from the shadows by giving her hope.
A perfect duality. They're symbiotic. She
Yeah.
cannot have one without the other right now.
That is a really complex way to live.
It is the human way to live. We are all contradictions. Walt Whitman said, "I contain multitudes." Lindsay-Michele is documenting her multitudes.
I want to talk about the others in her story, the people who don't see the pain. She writes, "It's easy for the outside world to assume that everything is fine when you're good at hiding the pain."
This is a critique of our social shallowness. We are very easily fooled by a smile.
Are we fooled? Or do we want to be fooled?
That is a sharp question. If I ask you, "How are you?" and you say, "Fine," I can move on with my day.
Exactly.
If you say, "I'm drowning in spiritual exhaustion and I feel like screaming," now I have a responsibility.
Right. Now I have to do something. I have to invest emotional energy.
So we collectively agree to accept the mask.
Sure.
We enable the sunshine performance because it is convenient for us. We want the strong friend to be strong so we don't have to carry them.
Which makes her call to action at the end even more important. She validates the reader. If you're reading this, know that you're not alone.
She is breaking the fourth wall. She's saying, "I know you are hiding too. I see you."
Your fight matters.
Validation is a powerful drug.
Uh-huh.
To be told that your silent suffering is not just empty pain, but a fight that is worth honoring, that dignifies the suffering. It gives it meaning.
Yes.
It transforms the experience from senseless misery to noble battle.
It turns the victim into a warrior.
Exactly. Even if it is a warrior who is crying on the bathroom floor.
Especially that warrior. That warrior is fighting the hardest battle.
You know, we touched on the cost of the mask earlier, but there's a specific line I want to drill down on. The outside world doesn't always allow that peace to stay.
Yes. The futility of inner work in a chaotic environment.
It feels like such a relevant topic for right now. We are all obsessed with self-care. We have apps for meditation, we have journals, we have therapy bots. But Lindsay-Michele is pointing out a structural flaw.
She is pointing out that self-regulation has limits. You can regulate your emotions perfectly. You can be a Zen master. But if you are in a high-conflict relationship or a toxic workplace or a systemic crisis,
Right.
your regulation will be overwhelmed. The external inputs are too strong for the internal processing.
She says, "The weight of others' actions keeps pulling me back."
This suggests she is an empath, or at least highly sensitive to her social environment. She absorbs the impact of other people's choices. She is porous.
Which explains why she has to train her mind so hard.
Yeah.
She is constantly playing defense. She is bailing water out of a boat that has holes in it.
And that defense is the sunshine. It is her shield. If I am kind, maybe you will be kind. If I am loving, maybe the situation will soften.
It's an attempt to control the environment through behavior.
But when it doesn't, shadows.
Shadows.
It is a cycle. But she seems determined to break it, or at least survive it through this trust.
Trust is the antidote to the anxiety. Anxiety is fear of the future. Trust is confidence in the future. She is actively choosing trust. It is an act of will.
Living, healing, and guiding in both the sunshine and the shadows. That is how she describes herself in the bio line.
Guiding. That is interesting. She sees her experience not just as a burden, but as a map for others.
That turns her pain into purpose.
Which is the ultimate psychological transmutation.
Yeah.
If I can use my suffering to help you, then my suffering wasn't in vain. It wasn't meaningless.
And that is exactly what she has done with this essay. She has turned her screaming into a map.
Indeed.
I keep thinking about that safe space to rest. If we were to take one practical thing away from this deep dive, beyond just understanding the concept, how do we create that for people?
Yeah.
How do we stop being the people who turn away?
It requires active listening. It requires looking past the sunshine. It requires skepticism of the smile.
So noticing when the smile doesn't reach the eyes.
Yes. Or noticing when the strong friend goes quiet.
Mhm.
When the text messages stop. Or simply asking a different question.
Okay.
Instead of "How are you?" which implies you want the fine answer. Ask, how is your heart today? Or what is heavy for you right now?
Give them permission to drop the mask. Signal that you can handle the inventory.
Signal that you are safe, that you won't run away if they scream, that you aren't transactional.
Because that is her fear. They might just turn away.
Proving that fear wrong is the greatest gift you can give a resilient person. It allows them to put the weight down for 5 minutes.
That is beautiful.
It is the love that she talks about. She is giving it to everyone else. She needs someone to give it back to her.
And maybe by writing this, she is giving it to herself.
I think that is a very fair assessment. Writing is an act of self-witnessing. She is saying, I see myself.
I see the sunshine, I see the shadows, and I accept both.
That is the duality of strength.
Well, we have unpacked the psychology, the philosophy, and the emotional reality of Lindsay-Michele's work.
We have. And it raises an important question for us as we close this deep dive.
What's that?
The author mentions that people don't see the emotional weight I carry when I don't have anyone to lean on. We, as a society, love to praise people for being strong. Oh, she's so resilient. He's a rock.
Yeah, we wear it like a badge of honor. It is the ultimate compliment in our culture.
But is our compliment actually enabling their isolation? By constantly praising their strength, are we signaling to them that their weakness is not welcome? Are we trapping them in the role of the strong one?
Oof, that hits hard. So if we tell them, you're so strong, they feel like they can't say, actually, I'm crumbling, because then they lose our admiration.
Exactly. Perhaps we need to stop praising resilience and start offering the safe space to rest that the author craves. Instead of saying, you got this, maybe we should say, I've got you.
That is a massive shift from you got this to I've got you.
Right.
One is encouragement from the sidelines. The other is stepping onto the field to help carry the load.
It changes everything.
It really does.
Well, that is certainly something to think about the next time you see that strong friend, the one who is always smiling.
Absolutely. Check on them.
We have traveled from the bright, disciplined optimism of the sunshine down into the raw, exhausting reality of the shadows and back up to this redefined, quiet strength.
A journey of duality.
Lindsay-Michele's essay, The Duality of Strength, is a reminder that we are all walking paradoxes. We can be hopeful and heartbroken at the exact same time. And that doesn't make us fake. It makes us human.
Perfectly said.
Thank you for diving deep with us today.
Yep.
This was a heavy one, but a necessary one.
Always a pleasure to explore the messy inventory.
Take care of yourselves and maybe check on your strong friends today. We'll see you next time.
So, if this resonated, you could follow Through the Looking Glass for more of these deep dives. And if you want the full episodes, my main show is Down the Rabbit Hole Unfiltered. And you could follow wherever you're listening, and I'll see you there.